What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs. And today was an interesting day. We started to push up. Tech started to see some strength. There's still a lot of worries and concerns, but a lot of it is essentially old stuff. We've been talking about inflation again and talking about debt ceiling. We do have a vote for the debt ceiling this week. So something to keep in mind, but I think a lot of the stuff is kind of reoccurring. We still have the Evergrande stuff, which there's been new news. I believe they've also defaulted on another loan, and then I believe they're also been bought out as well. 50% of it's been bought out, Evergrande. So being said, it doesn't look like that news is really affecting the market. It's just primarily what's going on with us, with the debt ceiling, the voting, the rates, and seeing where that stands essentially today. Some data came out that was pretty good today, obviously kicking us off. So that is something that is definitely positive moving forward. Again, it is October. It's just still only the beginning of October. I think we still got another week of this volatility, sensitivity to the market. Obviously, if this debt ceiling vote thing gets a little hairy towards the end of the week, we could see another pullback. But so far, so good. Monday, we did sell off in the morning, but I think it could have primarily been Facebook and what had gone on with Facebook, because Facebook actually had a nice bounce today. It hit the 200 perfectly yesterday, and then it just bounced from that point. It's been really chopped today. But Facebook is looking strong. Going back to SPY looks really good. I think we're trying to make, hopefully this is a higher low tomorrow. I really want to see if we open up tomorrow. I think the ultimate test is going to be, if we do push tomorrow, is testing that 20 and the 50 on the daily. That point, I think we are going to reject pretty hard off of that, and then see where we go from there. If we do not break back through that, we're definitely looking for a pretty rough downside. Now, I know there's always talk about a crash. I've heard about a crash for the past 2 months, through 3 months, essentially coming into June and July. That's essentially all I've heard is people talk about a crash. I am not really seeing that. There's still tons of strength there. Yes, we've had volatility because of specific events, but these events have only essentially taken us down for a day or two. Again, this is the biggest kind of correction that we've had. It's sitting at a 5.8 correction to this day, but they're seeing a lot of strength in tech today, which is definitely going to help push the market up. I said Tesla still sitting pretty. It's actually starting to wedge again. We had multiple wedges on this thing. We had a wedge here, and now it looks like we're creating another wedge and possibly break up. Again, the numbers coming out into earnings are going to be fantastic as that converts over, obviously, to sales and everything. So I think they're going to destroy earnings. The point is, as long as the market doesn't essentially crash, or market doesn't essentially fall from grace, I think Tesla still got a little bit of ways to go. That 800 though is a tough spot. We've had these different levels that have been tough to break, but Tesla look like it's starting to see the old signs of Tesla. And I think going into the holiday season, I think Tesla will actually run pretty hard. We do have a short week next week, and we do have a lot more expirations next week, bigger lump sums expiring next week. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, vote. There's a lot of different things that are still in play that could still affect the market, still essentially provide that volatility until going into later in the month, where I think we're going to start having big earnings and stuff like that. So Google in itself, again, brokerage pump today, beautiful pump today, but now hitting resistance. So that's ultimately what I want to see, is if Google can break past this tomorrow. We have a second green day up in tech. that can definitely help flip the market. We did have a solid first screen day. Obviously, the buyers moved in pretty heavy on Google yesterday, so we want to see what happens here. Good possibility if we do see a candle open above essentially this 27.48 mark, we could start seeing them making our way up. Now it's going to grind a little bit through this because we do have a lot of resistance overhead. So now that we're back testing some of the stuff, do we start to sell off again, or are we going to hold and break through? That is a question. And one of the ultimate ones to pay attention to is Google, because again, Google's had the best earnings in the last earnings. So Apple actually did very well today as well. Had that nice little pop. I did catch some of this as well. Is wedging. I want to see if this does break out tomorrow. We're going to break and start running. Again, earnings is right around the corner. Again, I can also see a little bit more selling coming in. Volatility, you want to give it another week or so. I can see us selling off a little bit more. Kind of prepping going into the end of the month. But ultimately, things I don't think are as bad as people make them out to be. Yes, there's supply shortages and stuff like that, and that that stuff is kind of already been taken into account, right? Some of these stocks have been hit pretty good. Even if you look at Apple, I mean, Apple's already taken quite a hit from the top. It's a 12, 13, almost 13% move down. That's a pretty big gouge in some of these big tech names. So something to keep on watch. Obviously, Facebook had that big gouge. It looks just like Apple. I want to see what it does tomorrow. If it actually breaks above this wedge, definitely positive. Start looking for more calls, looking for more stuff going into earnings is what I'm looking at. Planter, been struggling, but holding the 200. I want to see, again, if the market starts to churn, if this thing's going to turn. Your mid caps are going to move a little bit slower. That's why I always typically will play FANG, because of the fact that the big caps will typically start running first. The leaders square has been hovering around that 200 mark. I'm actually looking at this at the 231 mark tomorrow for possible entry if the market wants to start running. Again, if we do have any kind of slight pullback tomorrow, I think it would be good for an entry there. And then it looks like, and it always typically destroys earnings as well. Just a big early part of November is what we're looking at for Square earnings. Roblox, I'm not really quite sure what happened to this today. I know there's a bunch of China news and everything like that. So it did do quite a bit of heavy selling today, which is surprising. We did retest the 50 and then we kind of really sold off. We're going to come back down to the 65. That's ultimately what's interesting on Roblox. Snap did break below the 50 on the daily. So kind of watching these ones. Snap has definitely been one of the better ones is when it comes to social media. Destroyed earnings last. That's why I think it's kind of hovering around this area. It's waiting for earnings and then possibly going for all-time highs again. UPST, again, wedging here. So if this does break out, I could see this being a nice play tomorrow as well. Something I want to keep on watch is UPST. If market starts to run, does this break above on the daily and then just start running? Affirm. Same way, we're seeing a lot of wedges here, and I think I want to take it more as a positive than a negative, especially since we've sold off so much, and a lot of these have already showed strength. So I can only kind of see these take on more strength from this point, at least going into the holiday season, and then going into, I think, the beginning of the new year, we'll probably start to see some pretty heavy selling at that point. Again, tapering and everything is still a talk. Everybody doesn't know. Everybody assumes it's sooner than it is later, although we've been told sometime between mid 2022 and towards the end of next year. So we have to see how that plays out. Amazon looks like it just retested the 50 essentially and started selling back off. It is a little concerning. I haven't been talking about this. It is sitting at a base here, so I want to see if it continues to hold this and where we play tomorrow. So tomorrow is a big day. We get a little bit of data tomorrow. I don't think there's any other thing going on tomorrow. that can really affect the market. To be honest, aside from the Evergrande and the vote, unless something else comes out, I don't really see anything affecting us. Even the vote, and that probably won't affect the market until we actually hear what happens. So probably more on Friday. You might get some panic selling at that point. Well, we still got 2 more full days, I think, where the market could run back up and put us back into position, kind of get us ready for earnings, then maybe pull us back a little bit on Friday. That's what I'm hoping for. Again, you have to go day to day, see how it goes, shop back into the 200 and holding. Net actually had an awesome day. It got upgraded today and pumped. So for this one, I'm looking for 122 mark. As long as it holds at 122 mark tomorrow, we can get this to go back to all-time highs. I think that could very well do that. Airbnb has been taking a beating. Did retest. I'm looking for this to come down, at least for the 140 or the 158 mark. I think it would be good. I'd really like it lower than that, but solid support there. If it doesn't, easier to essentially take a position there, and if it doesn't hold, cut losses quickly on that one. But trying to see, BYD is sitting at the 100 mark. It's very tempting for this one. Again, we want to see, I think there's other good plays at the moment, but something to keep on watch. Chipotle looks like it retested the 15 and 20 and starting to come back down. If it does come back down, hopefully around that 1756 mark, possibly getting this for earnings as well. But we have to keep in mind this one is actually coming just around the corner, so 1021. So we got a lot of earnings coming. We got a lot of stuff happening. Again, there's a lot of little things, again, Evergrande and different policies and everything going on and votes right now for the debt ceiling. So those are I think the primary ones that are going on. Data, and you still got the jobless claims, which is something that is going to be big, especially considering what Fed Powell has been saying about how that is going to play into tapering talks. Again, I don't think there's really not going to be any kind of tapering going on. Even the bonds, I think, is going to be very limited. When talking about coming this year and starting to the purchasing of assets, I think will even be quite limited because there's, again, different pandemic stuff and everything else going on, and supply issues are still a concern. So I have to see how that plays out. But I think ultimately the market in general, the sentiment, it's looking strong. It looks like it wants to run. I think even today's selling towards the end of the day was more just people didn't want to hold because we essentially pumped all day. And we had a 20-point move in SPX. Now, normally when that happens, that's a good sign of reversal. We just really got to see what happens tomorrow. Do we continue tomorrow with tech pushing? If that's the case, then this could be almost a full reversal, unless we get some other news that pulls us back down. But ultimately, I think we are really close, if not already there. But we have to see, again, how we open up tomorrow and if we continue this bullish push. So if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you already done so. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.